Record. All right. So, colleagues, this is part C in our FAC 3764 session. So, before we got cut off, I was busy with the whiteboard screen. Can I take you back there again, just so that we can conclude on that aspect? Okay. So this is the whiteboard screen. So what I was trying to show you, right, in the just before we got cut, I was trying to show you how you can get the discounted. Sorry, how to allocate the. So remember, I'm busy with step 4. Okay. And on this step 4, what you're supposed to show is to allocate the transaction price to the performance obligation. I'm trying to show you how you're supposed to answer the question, okay? All right. Allocate the transaction price to the performance obligation. So how you're going to show this, obviously, there are two things. First thing first, I know that, okay, I have to show the purchase value. And I'll also have to show something to do with the service plan somewhere there. Okay. And then I'm going to do some calculations first, right? So the first thing we're going to do is, if I look at our step number 3, all right, where we determine the transaction value. The transaction value that we obtained, colleagues, was, or the transaction price, as they would call it, it was how much? Including the service plan. So that is, if I take the purchase value of the vehicle plus the service plan, this whole thing, it's supposed to be 1,007,500. That's what S4G Limited was supposed to have paid, okay? Including the service plan. But that's not what they paid. Then we discovered that, and remember, what I'm doing is just an analysis here for you, okay? Now, so this is the transaction value. Now, what was actually paid by S4G Limited was the 985,000 rands, not the 1,007,500. So in this case, it therefore implies there is a discount. All I'm doing right now, I'm analyzing. I'm not saying what I'm writing down. You can even write it down. That's even perfect. It implies there's a discount. So now, what is the discount? So the discount, you can even show it there. It's going to be 1,007,500 minus 985,000. Remember, they said that you need to show the calculations. So if you do the calculations, it will give you a total discount of 22,500. Is that making sense so far?
Yes.
Wonderful. Now, but remember, in step 4, we need to allocate the transaction price to the performance obligations accordingly. So it follows that the purchase value and the service plan, I'm supposed to show pertinent to the transaction price in question. It's supposed to be the 985,000 rands. Why I'm saying so is because that is the amount which was, so that is the amount which was,
agreed upon.
yes, actually paid. This was the amount which was actually paid, the 985,000. That is the amount that was actually paid. So we need to divide that amount between the purchase value and the service plan in this case. So how do we do it? So it means whatever we are showing here, Mr. Brandon, whatever we're going to show, sorry, let me just rub this for now. So it means that whatever that we're going to show, it has to be this purchase value, sorry, it will be values after discount here. After the discount. So it's either you can do it this way. Ah, come on, what did I do? Okay, yes. Okay, let me just do this. It's either, first of all, what you can do, you're gonna allocate, you're gonna have to allocate, I'm busy. Yeah, you're gonna allocate the discount first. You're gonna allocate the discount. You're gonna allocate the discount, right? You're gonna allocate the discount, and then you're going to allocate the discounted amounts. Or let me just say discounted values over there. So obviously, all of this, whether it's the allocated or allocate the discount, and then you allocate the discounted values, it has to do with the purchase value of the armored vehicles. And then the service plan. Like that. So we'd already done the calculations of the discount. Remember, the total discount was how much?
22,500.
22,500. We had already done the calculation. I'm trying to figure out the discount page, for the purchase value. We said it was 21,663, right? Remember, we had done the calculations somewhere there.
Okay.
Then for the service plan, I think it was 837. And then you totalize this thing like this, 22,500. Here, it's supposed to be the 985,000 rand. Now, because we had already done these discounts, okay, it's much easier then for us to get the allocated discount to get to allocate the discounted values for the purchase value and for the service plan. So how do we do that? It's going to be very simple, because since we already have those values, for the purchase value, the amount without the discount, excluding the service plan, it's 970,000. And you simply minus the discount of 21,663 to give you that. How much was it again, Mr. Brandon?
Let me just make
Yeah.
sure.
I think it's
It
going to
was
be 948,337, right?
that's 21,6. It's 942,337.
948 actually.
Oh wait, sorry. Did I make a? Yeah, I think I made a mistake. Wait, let me just recalculate again.
All right.
70 minus 2166. Two 663.
Yeah.
So it's 948,337. Yes.
100%. 100%. 100%. Right. And then, yeah, so that's step number 4 for you right there. And with all those supporting calculations that we had done in the previous video B for this lecture session. So that concludes step number 4. This is how it's supposed to be with all those supporting calculations. So far, so good, sir.
Yeah, so far so good.
Okay. And then step number 5. Now let me take you back here now. Step number 5, what are we supposed to do? Recognize revenue when as the entity satisfies the performance obligation. So this is again where the timeline effect comes into play. Timeline effect comes into play. What do we mean? Given the fact that my brother, that okay, so how much revenue are they going to recognize? Do you think it will be based off on the 1 million and 7,500 that we had calculated earlier, or will it be based off on what they've actually received?
What they've actually received.
Good one. So how much have they actually received, these guys?
9,850,000.
How much?
9,850,000.
Yeah, 9 million, yeah, 850,000. So that's the amount. Okay, wait a minute. I'm just trying to figure out something. But remember, okay, yeah, that's the total amount, right? But
Yes.
remember, the other one, it's for the service plan. Do you get the notion?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, the other one is for the service plan. So we need to make sure we don't lose
Okay.
sight on that. So let
All
me
right.
just make sure. Yes, there. Remember, there are two things here. There are two revenue streams to be recognized. Okay. So the service plan, it will be other income. This one. This is part of what? Other income.
Okay.
But then this would become part of their revenue, or what they call sales. Does it make sense there? Because
Yes, it does.
their main source of income is selling those vehicles.
Okay.
Meaning to say now, for us to determine the revenue value, I'm now doing step 5. So step 5, technically, it's going to be like this. So what are we doing in step 5? It's recognize revenue when as the entity satisfies the performance obligation. So here, it's about recognizing revenue. So their revenue, it's going to look like this. So revenue and I'll call this from sale of the 10 armored vehicles. It will be taking this 948,337 948,337 multiplied by 10 vehicles, which gives you how much, sir?
9,483,370.
Yes. 9 million.
483.
Mhm.
370.
So this is the actual revenue that they earned.
Okay.
Remember, the 985,000 was the total transaction price, including the service plan, which they
Yes, yes, yes.
concluded which they concluded with S4G Limited. But in terms of recognizing the actual revenue in this case, it will be this value.
Yes.
And
Okay.
then for other incomes, it will be that 36,663 times 10 vehicles. But if they end that as yet, or it was just only for the 15,000 kilometers,
They've earned it already.
or they've ended,
Yes.
or the 15,000 kilometers, right? Because then remember, I think they're still due to remember the entire 120 kilometers have not yet fully been performed by what is this? By DT Ama Limited. So what they've only
Yes.
earned is the portion of the 15,000 kilometers. That is the only portion, meaning to say, in this case, the 36,663 is representing the entire 120 kilometers. So if I want to
Okay.
get the 15,000 kilometers portion, I'll take 15 kilometers divided by 120,000 kilometers times 36,663. In fact, let's do this in writing, Mr. Brendan. So it will be 15,000 kilometers divided by 120,000 kilometers. All I'm trying to determine is the portion that has been earned in respect to the service plan. So they've already earned the 15,000 kilometers aspect. So it will be 15,000 kilometers times 120,000 multiplied by that 36,000 rands, 663. This is for one vehicle. Then this entire thing would be multiplied by 10 vehicles to give us the total revenue end. So how much is that going to be?
4,583.
Mm-hmm.
If you're
And then
rounding it
times
off.
10 vehicles, because remember they bought 10.
Okay, times 10 vehicles. It's 45,828. And 29,
45,000,
sorry. 45,829.
829. So this 45,829 is the other income or part of revenue. It's in any case, it's revenue anyways, but this is revenue now from what? From the service plan. Does it make sense, sir?
I think now I lost you a little bit because we were okay. So it was the other income, right?
Yes.
Which was the how much was it again?
45,829.
Is that the total now of it?
Yeah. No, you see, the other income here, it's referring to the service plan. But remember,
Okay.
it's also part
This
of
is just for the
revenue.
15. Sorry, this is just for the 15,000 kilometers.
It's just for the 15,000 kilometers,
For all
yes.
10
For
vehicles.
all 10 vehicles, it's the
But they still
45,829.
so but there's still an outstanding payment, or not to say outstanding payment, but for the 120 for the rest of the 120, which is gonna be 105,000
Yeah,
kilometers.
exactly.
Okay,
Which they
okay.
still
I
need
think
to, yeah,
okay. I think I'm with you still. Okay.
yes. Yeah. So you see, this 36,663 is for one vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, here I multiplied by 10, and this 10 is just
Yes.
representing 10 vehicles right there. So for the 10 vehicles, the revenue end by DD Ama Limited, it will be
Mm.
45,829 rands.
Times the 10 now.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, okay,
But for
okay.
each, it was going to be 4,000,
4,000.
yeah,
Yes.
something rands, yeah. So that's it, I think, for this transaction number 1.1. That's what you're
Okay,
supposed to do there.
okay.
So we can try to do the same exercise for transaction 2 as well. Now it will be quicker because now you understand the dynamics, right?
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna try and do it now, but this one it's a bit lengthy as compared to transaction one.
Okay.
Let's see. Transaction 1.2. During the current financial year, what happened? DD Armour Limited finalized a contract with Seal Protection Limited and International. Notice that look the the only difference between these two transactions, it's what?
Mhm.
Let me show you the difference with yeah. So this one, it's a cash transaction.
Okay.
This one, it's a mixture of both cash and credit. So just say cash
Oh,
transaction. Yeah, that's the only difference is there. How do you see it? Especially when you get to the bottom there. So they received a
mm-mm.
50% deposit on the same date and and then 40% later.
Okay.
Is it like that? Wait, let me check. No, wait, Mr. Braden, it's not a credit as such, but the payments were done in different occasions, so it's not a credit.
Okay.
Yeah. So this one, it was cash, immediate, let's just say immediate cash payment.
Once
Yes,
off.
yeah, once off, sorry, yeah. Yes, so this one was once off. It was a once off transaction. Okay, I don't know why it's acting up now. So this one was a once off. And then this one, they paid in part. That's what is happening with this transaction. That's the only difference. But
Yeah.
remember, whether it's paid in part or whatever, in accounting, there's what we call the accrual principle.
Yes.
Okay. There's the accrual principle. That's what you will be applying in this case. So everything else will still be very much similar or pretty much the same. So, but let's go through the dynamics of it and then we can finalize. During the current financial year, DG Armour Limited, okay, DG Armour Limited finalized a contract with Seal Protection, an international private security firm. That was for the purchase of 5 custom-made armored vehicles at a cost of how much? 1,350,000 per vehicle. The requirements from Seal Protection is very specific, and the vehicles cannot be sold to another customer and will be delivered to Seal Limited at all at once. And if Seal decides to cancel the contract, they'll be required to pay DD Armour Limited for the work performed until the date of the contract cancellation. The contract with Seal Protection was signed on the 1st of February 2022. So this is still within their current financial year. And DD Armour received a 50% deposit on the same date until 30 June 2022. The company, so that the manufacturing of the custom-made vehicles was 40% complete. When was this? On the 30th of June 2022. It was 40% complete.
Neat.
Yeah, so this percentage applications is very, very important. That's really where they are playing the game with you guys. But anyways, here's the trick. Here's the trick. I wouldn't call this a trick as such, man. But this is just basically where they just want to play a bit with you guys, your minds and stuff like that. But otherwise, okay, so everything else to do with the contract, it has really been met, true or false? True, because if you look at all the steps, I'm going to try and discuss this one. So step one, was it achieved? Was there any contract which was signed with the customer here?
Yes.
There was, right? And then are there performance obligations that have been identified?
Yes.
Yes, they are there. right? So there is a valid contract that was signed in this case, and the contract was signed when? On the 1st of February 2022. Can you see there?
Yes.
That's when it was signed. In your memo, they made an error. They said it was signed on the 1st of February 2021. Where is it? So here it's supposed to be 1st of Feb 2022, not 2021 for transaction 2. So yes, so from the information, it is evident that a valid contract can be identified. A contract was signed on the 1st of Feb 2022, not 2021, with Seal Ltd for the purchase price of 5 custom-made armored vehicles to the value of 1,350,000 rands. So what we get there, this statement that we've just read, it's dealing with step 1, step 2. And then the contract still, no, yeah, step 1 and step 2. Then the contract says that, no, step 1 actually. Then step 2 comes in here. The contract states that the custom-made vehicles cannot be used by or sold to another, customer, obviously. And then all 5 vehicles will be delivered at the same date and time. Since there will be a change to the risk, timing, or amount of the entity's future cash flows, the contract has commercial substance. All of these are terms and conditions of the contract, which are pertinent to what? Which are pertinent to step number 2. Identify the performance obligations. So as much as we identify the performance obligations, we also need to do what? To determine even the thing that makes the contract unique. So that is the terms and conditions of that contract. So in this case, the terms are stated that these particular vehicles would be custom made and they are not allowed to sell them to other customers. All right. And then obviously the performance obligations on the side of DD Armor Limited is that they should be delivered, of course, to C protection. Now, and then of course the other term is that there will be a change to the risk, timing, and an amount, simply because the contract, it is commercial substance. Now, it is probable for DD Armor Limited to collect the consideration to which it is entitled to, since the payment terms are clearly defined and credit checks ensure customers can make payments. So I was right, that time when I was there, this sounds to me like it's more like a credit
Yes.
transaction, a credit sale, because they do not receive all their payment for this transaction at once. There was a 50, if I'm not mistaken, was it 50 or 40%?
50% and then 40%.
Yes. So there was a 50% which they received as a deposit. And then what happened? And the project was 40% complete. The project was 40% complete. So, okay, it's fine. Let's continue. So now all of this, I'm seeing step 1, step 2 in this whole entire paragraph right here. Why? Because they are stating it's giving us an indication that indeed there is a contract that was concluded. So this is step 1 and step number 2 clearly stated to us. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So and then oh sorry, yeah, and that same and then this statement here that they bring here is just in addition to step 2, explaining the performance to be played by DD Armor Limited. So DD Armor Limited promised to deliver 5 custom-made armored vehicles. Therefore, we're only dealing with one performance obligation on the side of DD Armor Limited to deliver those 5 vehicles. Then step number 3, it is this one here, where they say the transaction price is given as 1,350,000 per vehicle. And how many vehicles are they in this case? Let's see. Okay, I'll come back to the number of vehicles, but I wanted to show you step number 3, determine the transaction price. So the transaction price was clearly given to us as how much? 1,350,000 multiplied by the 5 vehicles to give us 6,750,000. So far, so good?
Okay.
Yeah. And then the allocation, it will be what we then determine in step number 4. So let me just quickly show you the allocation side of it. Oh, it was quite a long question, man.
Yes.
Yeah. So according to the contract, all 5 vehicles must be delivered on the what? On the same date.
Same
But
date.
since the custom-made vehicles can only be used by SEAL Limited and SEAL Limited is required to pay for work performed to date. If they should cancel the contract, the performance obligations will be satisfied over time. So not all the performance obligations have been satisfied. So at the end of the current financial year, manufacturing of the custom-made vehicles was what? 40% complete, meaning that 40% of the 6,750,000 must be accounted for as revenue. I was gonna say that actually because it was only excuse me, and by the way, 50% of it, not the entire amount. Not the entire amount. What do I mean when I'm saying not the entire amount in this case? Simply because remember how much was okay, no. It would include actually 40% of this total value, regardless of whether they've actually received the money or not. Oh, my pen has to be on the charger. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. So in this case, that's why I don't love to be reading through the memo, but I normally love to do the analysis separately so that you follow my steps one after the other. But anyways, here is the notion. Because this is, they are trying to explain to you step number 4, actually. That is what they are doing here. So what has happened is, Mr. Brendan, there was no discount, clearly, right?
Okay.
There's no discount. That's number 1. Okay. Now, because there's no discount granted, another thing is also the issue of mentioning the related clauses to the transaction. That's what they are stating all the while when they're saying that there's an option of canceling if they choose to, and if they happen to cancel, this is what's going to happen. DT Armor Limited will be allowed to claim the portion of how much they've completed of the work at that point in time. But there's nothing about canceling that we've had in the context of the transaction. So, but here you need to mention the clauses, obviously. And then after you've done so, now we want to determine the revenue for 2022, 30 June. 30 June 2022. How did they determine the revenue? If you look at the transaction price, because there was no discount given, what we do understand is that there's only 40% of the work that has been completed by this company. And how much is that going to give you?
Okay, let me see.
It's already there. It's this one here.
Okay,
The
wait, let
3
me see.
million. Yeah. It's going to give
Oh,
you
the
3
three,
million.
yes,
375,000.
25.
So that is the revenue that sorry, this is the not the revenue, man. It's the deposit that they got. Okay. So this is the deposit, first of all. All right. That's the deposit received. But did they earn that deposit? That's another question you see now. Did they really earn the deposit in its entirety? Well, no. Why I'm saying not is because they only completed 40% of the entire job. So the revenue earned in this case, it will be based off on the amount of work they've completed. So the amount of work they've completed out of the total of 6,750,000, it's only about 40% that has been completed, which gives you how much? 2 million
700.
700,000. So now the question would be, should they then recognize the 3,375,000 as their revenue, or should they be recognized the 2,700,000? That's my question to you.
The 2,700,000.
Mhm.
That's earned.
It's already end for the current financial year.
Yes.
But remember, there's a difference now. So what happens to the difference between the 3,375,000 minus the 2,700,000? This one, it will be recognized. So whatever amount it is,
Mm-hmm.
it will be recognized as revenue in the following
Yeah.
financial year. It's more like accrued income. Does it make sense?
Makes sense.
Yes. So the difference, it's accrued income, guys. What we call income received in advance, accrued income. So far, so good, guys.
Yes.
Right. So I think for transaction 2, that's pretty much about it, my brother. I don't see anything else.
Yeah.
As far as that is concerned, then because of time, okay, I think yeah, that's what they wanted us to do for question A. And notice this is a lot of marks, man.
23 marks. Yes.
Imagine this thing comes in the test that you are writing, and there's likelihood that they will bring something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's 23 marks in your pockets. Right. And then question B, discuss the accounting and ethical consideration of transaction 1.3. Let's see transaction 1.3. Placed an order for a custom-made manufactured armored vehicle. Okay, paid a refundable deposit of 550,000 on the 15th of June, 2022. On the 30th of June, the contract for the manufacture of the custom vehicle has not been signed as the final design had not yet been approved. Now, to boost the revenue figures for DD Limited for the current year, the CFO register CASA has requested the accountant to recognize the deposit as revenue from contracts with customers. Remember, we have to discuss the ethical consideration. So here's the thing. First of all, if I was just to answer to this, remember, we're trying to respond to this question where they say discuss the accounting, recognition, and measurement. So in terms of all those steps, if I was to it's step 1 and 2, I'm going to try and combine them into one. So I'm going to try and address step 1 and step 2 at once. So in step is pertinent to those 2 steps. There is no legal, or let me just, there's no valid contract concluded as yet. Why? Since there was no contract signed at the end of the financial year. At the end of the financial, or rather at the end of the reporting period, the reporting date of DD